It's easy to imagine an alternate history where Hitler wins World War II as the beginning of some new Roman Empire, a 1,000-year Reich. But Harry, as a student of history, has other ideas. He sees a victorious Germany as a short-lived empire where propaganda loses its power.
Pick somebody who's been dead for 400 years. How excited are you going to get about him, no matter who he is? You can't keep putting a boot in the face of mankind forever because people remember that they used to be free, because institutions wear out.
Harry argues that this is inevitable, that a wartime regime and its propaganda simply cannot sustain itself over long periods of time.
Do you think that everything will continue as it would have under wartime rigor? Not going to happen. People aren't like that. Look at what's going on in the Iran of the Ayatollahs. Yes, there is a vigorous means of repression, but there are people who want to leave the country. There are people who want to live lives different from the ones that the religious authorities approve of. And as long as they can do it quietly and behind closed doors, they can get away with big chunks of it, you know?
But that doesn't mean persistent propaganda wouldn't have long-term effects. The Nazis' regime of persecution would likely continue.
I suspect that some attitudes would persist just because they'd get too ground into question. I suspect anti-Semitism would persist, assuming there were any Jews left to be anti-Semitic about.
There's historical precedent for Harry's position. He's influenced by the medieval Arab historian Ibn Khaldun, who made similar observations in the 14th century.
He says that a typical state basically lasts for 4 generations. The first generation is the founder. The second generation didn't found the state, but he saw how it worked when it was new, and he can still run it. You know, the third generation, it's running on momentum. And in the fourth generation, it falls apart. And I mean, you can look at the Soviet Union the same way, you know. And I think that's the kind of thing that you can imagine happening in a German empire.
There was something unique in Hitler's propaganda program that made it extra effective. I asked Harry, was it due to the shrewdness of the regime or the man himself?
When you put out propaganda, you are creating the agenda, and the other guys, if there are other guys, they have to respond to you. And I think he really did embody it, by the way. I think people were afraid to even try to give up. He kept Germany, fighting for probably a year longer than it had any business fighting. They were whooped.